supposed to be.
Okay, welcome to the Select Board Board of Health Sewer Commissioners meeting for March 9th at 5:30 p.m. This meeting is held in a hybrid fashion, both Zoom and in the main meeting room at 8 Conway Street, South Deerfield, Mass. This meeting will be held in a hybrid fashion with the opportunity for both in-person attendance and remote participation. Please note that while an option for remote attendance and/or participation is being provided as a courtesy of the public, the meeting or hearing will not be suspended or terminated if technological problems interrupt the virtual broadcast unless otherwise required by law. Members of the public with a particular interest in any specific item on this agenda should make plans for in-person versus virtual attendance accordingly. The meeting will be held in person in the main meeting room of the Deerfield Municipal Office in accordance with Mass General Law, Chapter 30A. Anyone intending to record the meeting must identify themselves to the clerk and provide their name and address for the record. I'll call the meeting to order. The Select Board was going to take a couple of initial votes before the Finance Committee gets underway. We'll do this fairly quickly, but we're going to make some motions and vote to open up engage the process for changes to health insurance and to appoint Brenda Hill as a retiree representative to the Insurance Advisory Committee. But I just wanted to open up to any public comment beforehand. Anybody want to say anything or no? You want to just...
Oh. No, good evening. Thank you, Trevor, for the opportunity just to address the board. We were invited to the meeting by the town administrator for representation of the full-time employees at the police department. We are very happy with the health insurance coverage that we have now with the provider, and we want to make sure that we can work with you guys to keep the same provider. I mean, I think one of our core values here in the community is to have good health insurance, have that coverage for our employees, and it's definitely something that we care deeply about. We understand there's a fiscal side of everything, and hopefully we can figure out a way over the next couple months to keep the coverage in place and maybe see some minor adjustments in other areas to stay with the Hampshire County Trust.
Thanks for your comment. Any other? Hearing none, I'll just make a couple of motions here. I move the town elect to engage in the process to change health insurance benefits under Mass General Law, Chapter 32B, Section 21 through 23. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Blake Gilmore, aye.
Tim Milchi, aye.
Trevor McDaniel, aye. And then further, I move to appoint Brenda Hill to role as retiree representative of the Health Insurance Advisory Committee under Mass General Law, Chapter 32B, Sections 21 through 23.
Second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Blake Gilmore, aye.
Tim Milchi, aye.
Trevor McDaniel, aye. And then I think consensus here, just checking with you all, that we would have Christopher Dunn, Town Administrator, would facilitate the committee's work and represent the Select Board and town. We're good. We're all good there. Yep. So you've got consensus for that. And then are there anybody else that we don't need to appoint anybody else? The employees would appoint their own, and perfect. That's great. All done. So we'll move it on to the Finance Committee. Thank you.
Okay, I'll call the Finance Committee meeting to order at 5:34 p.m. on March 9th. Let's go ahead. You're here for the swim program, right? Tri-Town. Let's go ahead and just start with that right now, right off the bat. Ken, I see, is on the Zoom. And so we're going to start with the swim program 630-5400.
Like to make a motion to recommend the summer swim program account number 630-5400 in the amount of $3,338.
Second.
Same motion for the Select Board.
Second.
Okay. Would you like to comment on it at all?
No, thank you. We're looking to expand our swimming this year with additional hours, so this will be great to be able to do that.
Okay, so this is actually a decrease
Yeah, just
from
for the-
last year. It's a like $2,000 decrease. Is that,
money from
The revolving.
the
fund.
revolving.
Yeah, it's that way. We are still looking, though, regardless, we're looking to expand this year with additional swim offerings at other times to accommodate people who work during the week and we typically off.
okay, can you talk to the,
Oop, sorry.
yes, because it's recorded and
Sorry.
there's people online and
So,
stuff, though.
while there is showing a decrease in it, we are looking to expand our hours for our offerings of swim lessons. Historically, we've offered them during the week, during the day, when a lot of parents are at work, which accommodates the camps that use our program, but it doesn't help the folks that are working during the week. So we're looking to expand and be able to offer them on the weekends and at nights, and this
Oh,
will
nice.
that.
That's awesome. Go ahead, Jim.
So how are you squaring the circle?
Grab the mic.
How are you squaring the circle here with more hours but less money?
Offsetting it with our lifeguards that'll be doing double duty.
Any other questions?
Yes, actually. Could you spell your name? please?
My name, my
Yeah.
first name is Patricia Ann, Patriciaann. My last name is Telega, T as in Thomas, Elega.
Telega. All right, thank you.
Yep.
Okay. Any other questions or discussion? All those in favor? That's unanimous.
All in favor for the select board?
Blake Gilmore, aye.
Tim Hilchi, aye.
Trevor McDaniel, aye.
All right. Next page, 6305410, Tri-Town Beach expense.
Like to make a motion to recommend Tri-Town Beach expense account number 630-5410 in the amount of $39,078.
Second.
Same motion for the select board.
Second.
We kind of heard the discussion. Anything
Yep.
different
Now, we'll
on
just-
here besides
No,
the
that's fine.
change to hours? The total overall is still a decrease, right? This is a $1,200 increase. The other one was $2,600 decrease. So total overall is still a decrease.
Oh, the two.
Just adjusting the way you're
Yeah.
splitting the hours. Yep. Okay.
Thank you for the good job you're doing.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. I learned how to swim there, so and became a competitive swimmer after. So it
Thank
all
you.
started at Tri-Town. So thank you.
It's just on a side note that has something to do with the beach, but I found out today, which makes me kind of happy, that Whately Fire is going to be using Tri-Town Beach for their ice rescue program for training.
Oh, good.
So it's something that get used all the time.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Interesting.
I just had one quick question though. I noticed that we don't have an expense for vegetation treatment. Are we doing okay with vegetation over there?
So we are. I'll be blunt about it. Last year, we were able to get CPA funding for a dock. And prior to the dock, we had our team going in there and they were raking on a regular basis. And we had all those studies done that we funded. And to go with the programs that were funded by the studies that we did, we would have been looking at thousands of dollars every year for them to do the treatment. So we just decided at that point to have our team rake and take care of it. Well, with our new dock system, we found out that the vegetation comes up against it on the side where we kayak and paddleboard. And guess what our dock does? It catches it. So it keeps it from coming into the swimming area. So as we continue to hope to expand our dock further to the other side, it'll catch it. So we're looking to do some type of what's called snow fencing, or fencing that'll drop down from the dock to help catch the vegetation in the water and prevent it from coming into the swim area. And then any vegetation that has been an issue on the beach area with growth and things along those lines. My husband and I had bought a tractor and we were going down there every few weeks with our tractor and raking the beach to keep it all under control. And last year it went way down. So we did the best that we can. So it is definitely something that we work on a regular basis and have plans to continue to work on.
Great, thank you.
But expense.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Yeah, I saw that tractor over
Yeah,
the
you did.
weekend. Your hat was confusing me. That's why when I didn't say Patty, I just, so sorry about that.
That's all right.
All right. Any further discussion or questions? All those in favor? It's unanimous. Yep.
All those in favor for Select Board?
Nick Gilmore, aye.
Tim Hilge, aye.
Trevor McDaniel, aye.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Ken. Do you have anything you want to add?
No, I think we should just, I did want to recognize Patricia Ann for all of the work she puts in. It's unbelievable the amount of time she spends during the summer down at the beach. And we've been back in business for 3 years, and the weeds are becoming more controllable. And, the towns were gracious enough to help us expand the dock system a little bit. And we're hoping to continue that good work going into the new season. So thank you for your support, and we'll be seeing you soon.
Great. Thank you, Patty. All right. Why don't we just, since Tilton, you're here, Candace, and looks like Kate's online. Why don't you come on up? We'll just go ahead and do the library now, and then we'll do minutes after we're done with library. So that's 610-5400 we're looking for.
I'd like to make a motion to recommend Tilton Library, account number 610-5400 in the amount of $291,474 for the purposes of discussion.
Do we have a second for that?
I'll second for purposes of discussion.
All right.
Same motion for the select board.
Second.
All right. Do you have, do you want to say something to start off with, or
Well,
do we dig in?
Thank you for having me here. Can you hear me okay? And I do have a line item budget. Do you want me just to go through line items, or would you like to have a general discussion before?
How about a general discussion, and then we'll
Okay.
ask questions?
Sure.
Do you have like general comments to make, or do you?
Well, I was in this position, almost the same position last year when we thought the library was going to be opening sooner than it has. And the biggest addition to the budget was the electricity. And so we sort of planned for that as if we were going to move in, but since there was a delay, the budget is, the budget's a little bit different from last year, mostly because we anticipate being in the library for the whole year.
Mhm.
And we are looking for just a minimal amount of additional library staff, because we're realizing as we spend time in the building and talk to other libraries locally that went through a similar expansion, that they realized about a year in that they really needed the additional staff because of the huge increase in the usage. And so we're kind of getting the benefit of their experience. So that's why we added that. And also the DPW department wanted to have a clean separation of bills that cover the library, and they were covering some of the costs over the year. So those expenses and a couple of the new ones were put onto the library budget, and the Tilton Fund, the trustees approved those changes and the staff changes. So the budget you see here has been approved by the trustees.
So I actually have a question about that. So the building and grounds maintenance line, you had it at 16,000 something or other, and now it's 20,870. Is that the right number, or did we already have the 4,000 from 4,500 from?
That's including the 4,500 from DPW.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the 20,000 is the right number for that. Okay.
Yes.
If you folks recall on the meeting, which was exactly a month ago on February 9th, when we met with DPW and went over the town-owned buildings, there was a line item that I believe was 5,500, and 4,500 of it we voted to move from town-owned buildings to the Tilton budget.
Okay.
So that 4,500 increase is in here. I've moved it and redone the town-owned buildings. You should have a motion tonight, and then it's included in this one.
So I think there's a there's a proposal to put solar on the library.
I know that, I don't know a lot of details, but I know it's being pretty seriously pursued by some members of the building committee who are also on some of these boards. And I'm also going to reapply for a $90,000, excuse me, library solar grant. So that would be great and offsetting, but it's a very competitive grant. It's a worldwide grant. They give out 5 a year. So, so that would be wonderful, but if not, I know it's being pursued otherwise.
Okay. So the library, in order to keep MBL, whatever, to be part of the grand library system in the sky, you have to, the budget each year has to be at least 2.5% more than the average of the 3 previous years. So you add up 3 previous years and multiply it by 1.025, and that's the minimum that you have to have.
Yeah.
I'm getting someplace, honest. So, and then 19% of that has to be materials. So every
Correct.
increase that we have to the budget, we're also increasing the required materials because we have to spend 19% on materials.
Correct.
So if we put the full amount for the electricity in here, and then we get solar and the electricity bill goes down, at some point, we're not going to be able to reduce the budget.
That's where I'm going to have Kate step in and talk about, answer your question.
Sure. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for having me here. 2 things. The 19% materials expenditure, that funding can be made up from any funding source. So that can be in the library's budget, that can be made up by the state aid grant award, by Friends Foundation. That can be that total. We have a total number requirement of the amount spent on materials, but that funding can come from anywhere. Second, if solar were to be added to the library, and then the electricity bill would go down, the only way that we can ever reduce the requirement from us, which is called the MAR, the municipal appropriation requirement, is if services are centralized. So if every, town department all of a sudden had its electricity paid out of one line item from DPW, we could, go back and kind of adjust the budgets to reflect that and adjust the requirements to reflect that. But in a case when the library goes to solar, that's not something that we would adjust our formulas based on, because that's not a town-wide thing. It's great for the library, it's great for the environment and everything, but that's not something that falls within our policies to adjust the library's budget. So we would just hope that that's shifted, towards greater materials, through more staffing, through more programming, something else within the budget.
So what I'm wondering is if whether we should think about either taking some of that maintenance and putting it back in the town building maintenance line, since we have, like, police department maintenance isn't separate, town hall maintenance isn't separate, it's all in that. So maybe it makes sense to put some of that back in there, or to put some portion of the electricity into that town building maintenance line until we figure out what the electricity is actually going to do. Yeah, go ahead, Mark.
So, thank you for clarifying the MAR gotcha there. It's kind of disappointing that there isn't something for that. If we needed to make an adjustment and there's no policy for it, what happens if we just sit a year out? Like, what if we make the cut? What are the actual consequences? I know we would lose some MBLC funding, but what are they specifically?
Yeah, so there's 2 scenarios, right? If a library does not get funded at that required MAR level and they get a bit of a cut, or their budget doesn't go up quite enough, then there's a situation where the municipality essentially, it's called applying for a waiver of the MAR. So basically there's documentation that has to get sent into us at the state that says we weren't able to meet the requirement for the year. This is why, this is the, financial stuff going on around it. In your case, it would be because the electricity is getting more complicated and stuff. You kind of make your case why the municipality still deserves to be certified for state aid to public libraries, but these are the extenuating circumstances. That proposal, based on how big the budget cut is, if it's like a huge cut, that's different. But based on how big the cut is, you either send in the paperwork and a couple letters, and I can send the documentation to Candace and she can show you how it's worked in previous years, or we do ask if it's a really egregious cut and the library is very steeply cut, like 10, 15, 20%, then we ask the representatives from the board and the library and the town to come to, it would be our January 2027 meeting to make their case in person or over Zoom to the Board of Library Commissioners. They would ask a bunch of questions just to make sure that everything is on the up and up, and then they would vote to ideally approve a waiver of the FY 27 MAR in February of 2027, because our timelines are a little wonky. If a waiver is approved of the MAR, that's great. You're fully certified. You're still in the State Aid to Public Libraries program, the municipality is. And that means your patrons still get access to every library in the state. If you were to not, if you were to cut the library budget egregiously, or decide not to participate and apply for state aid to public libraries, then your municipality would no longer be certified, which means that every town in the state would have to vote as to whether they would serve residents of your town. So when they went into neighboring libraries, any other library in the state, every town would have the right to say, you know, we're not going to serve your patrons because we all, you know, believe in the system. We all choose to, you know, 347 of the 351 municipalities participate and meet our standards every year. But you've chosen not to kind of, you know, be part of the statewide system that supports public libraries. So we're going to choose not to serve your patrons. And we did a survey last year, and close to 90% of the municipalities statewide do not serve patrons of uncertified communities, because it is kind of a group goal to, you know, encourage libraries everywhere to be healthily funded. So that means your patrons would go into the library next door and they could sit there and use the computers, but they couldn't check out any books. They could not place library holds because other libraries would not fulfill them. So your patrons are also limited to only the books that are on the Tilton's library shelves. And it's honestly, it's to be not certified, to choose not to participate in the program it's a really big deal. 347 of the 351 municipalities do participate yearly and meet our standards. The 4 that don't participate either don't have libraries or have libraries that are open like 2 hours a month. And so it's not worth them to participate. You would also lose the State Aid to Public Libraries grant. And most important for you, and actually, Candace, I had done some more research on this, you are still in the State Aid to Public Libraries, or I'm sorry, you're still in the Massachusetts Public Library Construction Program. So if you were to choose to not apply, that would be, you would be choosing in October of this year to not apply to state aid to public libraries. And if you go through the contracts that you signed with the Mass Board of Library Commissioners for those construction grants, it requires participation in and full certification in the state aid to public libraries program and meeting all those requirements. So if your last payment of the normal grant was made before October, which I think it is based on our calendar, speaking to the construction team, that would be fine. But if for some reason that payment is pushed out past that October date, then you would not be, then that contract is still outstanding and you would not be abiding by the contract. So essentially, we would consider that a breach of contract, and you would have to pay back all of the Mass Public Library Construction Grant funds to the state, because it doesn't go back to the MBLC, it goes back into the state coffers plus interest. If the final payment is made to you by June or July, which I think is our current plan, and then you were to choose not to be certified and lose certified in October, then everything would be fine for your construction grant. But the Green Library Incentive Grant that you are planning on applying for, which I think is 100,000, you would no longer be eligible to apply for that grant. So you would forfeit that $100,000 Green Library incentive because you're no longer abiding by the contract terms of that future contract. So there's extra. That's that extra $100,000 for the library. That's just because of the timing of your project and the requirements of the contracts that would be at stake, as well as all the benefits and as well as all the benefits that come with normal certification through state aid to public libraries. And I
So
can
don't
type
think
this
we're
out.
in any danger of going to that situation right now, because if you use the formula that we have, we can go as low as 230,000
Yeah.
231. So I don't think there's any worry about us not meeting at least that level.
Good.
It's just,
I just want to know what
Oh,
the
go on,
parameters are,
yours.
but thank you.
so. Right.
Just got a lot of them.
Yeah, we have plenty of room to, yeah. And it wouldn't be this fiscal year, right? If we did this 291 this year, and then next year it dropped, we would still be okay next year, because last year was 215. It'd be the year after that, so it'd be 2029 before we would run into anything, and I don't think it would be egregious. Go ahead, Jim.
Just as a clarification, does that apply to the amount spent or the amount budgeted?
The amount budgeted, appropriated. If we, you don't care. I'm getting nitpicky. If we appropriate a certain amount right now, and then at fall town meeting, we raise the amount appropriated, it's the lower amount that sticks. If we do some amount now and reduce the amount at fall town meeting, it's the lower number that applies. Right? At least that's
Well,
the
so
directions.
when Candace applies for state aid in October, I think it's due the first Friday in October, she sends us the most current budget documentation as of that last Friday in October. So if her budget fluctuates at all between, now and then July 1st when the fiscal year starts, and then October 4th when state aid to public libraries is due, that is the number she will send us, whether that has gone up or down since the fiscal year started or it was approved at town meeting. And that is mainly in place because we know a lot of towns are still doing contract negotiations as the fiscal year starts. And that's mainly in place to allow libraries that grace period to add those funds to their budget as contracts get ratified. If the libraries
typically do that though, so I don't think it's something I need to worry about. Anybody else have a question? So let's talk about the extra hours for a minute, should we? So we're in a situation this year that we are in the hole and we are looking to cut everywhere we can cut. And the schools have come back and they're not just cutting positions, they're cutting like real people with jobs are going to lose their jobs, right? So it's a very tight year. And we've been focusing pretty hard on additional hours and additional people. So I just open up. Does anybody have?
I have a similar concern. It's hard for me to want to consider expanding hours. Like I know the timing's rough because we have a new building, but if we're going to be laying off librarians at the school, it's hard to consider adding hours. And then also, one of the things I was also wondering is with these increases of hours in the current budget proposal, would there in the payroll hours, that is, would that be an increase in the service hours, or would the service hours stay the same?
The service hours would stay the same. Basically, what we're responding to, as I was mentioning earlier, the need for more staff because of what we're hearing out in the field from other libraries that were really panicking, especially Greenfield and Hadley. And their buildings were completed in the last 5 years, and they both tried for a year with their staff, and they could do it, but it was difficult because usually the way the numbers have been going, the first year you get a 300% increase in attendance, and then after that, and the novelty, you just reach a maximum saturation, and then after that, about 200%. So you never go back down to what you had your normal before. You're always going to be more just because you have more space, you offer more. And because of the addition of the space and the services that we're offering, it's going to be really tricky for staff. And this is only for minimum staff. Our minimum staff policy means it can only be the most or the minimum we can have on one floor is one person. But that is not ideal. And so what we want to help is those really busy times, like when the kids come after school or something, that there's someone, because right now there's one person all the time in the first floor in the children's room. And she has been feeling, especially since we moved in, that's a lot to handle because it's not just her room, but it's the lobby and with 3 restrooms, it's the community room. And not to say that she couldn't, call someone like myself to come downstairs and help, but there's no guarantee that I'll be available. And so it's really about setting up appropriate safety measures for our staff. And it's an extra $5,000, I think, for this minimum amount that we're asking for. And so we feel like it's a safety measure and that it's going to be necessary and a very minimal cost. And I think when we came up with these numbers, it was before I knew a lot of details about the town budgets. That's when after I submitted the budget, I started to hear. But at that point, it had been approved, and I still stand by the idea of it being a necessary. Whether or not it gets approved, it would be helpful because if we go below the minimum, then we have to close the library for whatever, a shift, half the day, a day. And we don't want to do that. We only do that, for extreme weather. So, so that's our reasoning.
Is that minimum of one person per floor a Tilton Library policy, or is it an MBLC policy or someone else's?
It's actually a town by town policy, and I did do investigation and did a survey, and all the libraries that have more than one floor have more than one person per floor. Have more than one person in the building at a time. It's just, it would be impossible for one person to do all of that and to corral the people and to make reservations, change reservations. We're going to have a community room, two quiet study rooms, video gaming rooms, and a sensory room. People are really excited already in the children's room and are like in line to use the rooms in the children's room. And so that's already taking our children's librarian attention away from some of the, typical workday stuff that she does. And so to expect that one person to also do the stuff that is in the purview of the second floor staff, which is mind the teenagers and check to see what's going on in the rooms that we can't see, like the makerspace and the reading room, to make reservations and monitor the quiet study rooms. So there's a lot to do, and one person, it just wouldn't be safe at all, or doable.
So had the $5,856, is that, like, how many hours is that? Would that be added to somebody that already exists? Would you be hiring an additional person? Is it, like, how did you come up with that number?
I just did one of our part-time people, so someone who's like, pretty low on the classification, whether it be one of our substitutes who wants more hours, or someone that works one Saturday a month who wants more hours, or a new person, whoever's available. But it would be, I guess you would call entry level. So, but it wouldn't be adding to department head staff, because they're going to be already at their circulation desks and me in my office. So it wouldn't be any of the higher paid positions.
And how many hours a week are you open currently?
We're open 30.
30?
Yep. So my plan for as long as I'm here, and I would hope, we're actually doing our strategic plan here. It's a time for our next strategic plan. And so we're working on that this year. And I know that incrementally a goal, especially if we see better days with the economy, is to incrementally increase those hours, which would be increasing staff as we go along. But I feel totally up to the task, because I started here in 2018, and I went from having 0 hours for a teen librarian to having 15 hours, and it was pretty painless. So I feel like it can be done. I would just, to be fair, would do it incrementally over time, unless the town gets a windfall and wants to send it our way.
I can't see a scenario where it's mathematically possible to not maintain 30 hours without an increase. In fact, like you would be able to maintain well over 30 hours a week with no increases.
I'm not sure. Can you explain more?
Yeah. So you've got several people here. So you've got, I know you've got director duties, but you're in at 1,976 hours a year. We've got another person that's in 1,508 hours, another person that's in 1,469. With 30 hours a week, that's 1,560 a year. I assume that you're probably going to have some hours where, people, I assume, may do some after hours work. And then when we add up some of these part-time positions at 416, 556, 195, 338, like we're definitely getting coverage on 2 floors for 30 hours.
Well, a lot of those part-time people are never work together. So for instance, we have a part-time person that works one Saturday a month, one part-time person that works one Wednesday a week. So your coverage really would be during the highest number of staff at one time would be during the week from 1 to 4, which would be myself, the adult librarian at the adult circulation desk, the teen librarian at their circulation desk, and the children's librarian at their desk. And then at 4 o'clock, the children's librarian leaves for the day, because I don't have money to pay them for more hours. And so then we have one person on each floor, because I usually leave between around 5. So between 4 and 5, there's 3 of us, and then I leave at 5, and then there's 2. And so the people that work evenings and Saturdays, and for 2 days a week in the teen room, these are very, very part-time people. And so while there is a teen librarian that has, administrative duties, they're not there all the time. So they have two people helping out. And we do need to have odd desk time for a lot of planning for programs and budget and services and stuff like that. So.
Thank you.
Sure.
So I'm interested in asking a couple questions, if that's all right. Can you just take us through all the head adult services? Is that a step increase that's raising that number?
Everyone got, I believe, a step increase and 2% COLA this year across the board, correct? Yeah.
Yeah, and so the same applies from the circulation and tech. Is that?
Yeah, basically all the positions that were already in place. So if we added a person with this additional 6 hours, that would be an additional position. But if it was, or those could go to another part-time staff person.
Okay, and then there seems like, which I just want to make sure I'm asking the right. The library assistant 3, it's a $2,500 increase.
That's because that covers a number of people, I believe. Let me see. This is 3. Let's see what that is.
Yeah, it looks like hours shifted because head young adult dropped quite a bit. Live Assist 3 went up. Live Assist 2 didn't have anything last year and one did. Yeah. So it looks like hours shifted around.
Okay, so the library assistant 3 is the 2 1 day a week library assistants that work in the teen room.
And in the ideal world where you got your ideal extra hours, none of that would lead to a benefited position.
Not as I have it now, no.
Okay. Yeah. Because I know we approved one of these changes and didn't calculate the benefits, and that was before we had a 49% increase in insurance rates. So we wouldn't want to run into that situation again.
Yeah, I think even if we were to add hours over the year, it would be probably adding hours to this position, to the 6 hour, until it got up to 19.5 or whatever.
Okay.
So,
And the electricity amount is a guesstimate at this point. I mean, it's logical, but we don't have a real sense of how much the finished building is going to use.
Yeah, this is an estimate that math that our architect did.
Yep.
And we just started getting bills, so we don't have a full year yet to see how they fluctuate over the year.
And final question, I guess one of the things we're talking about is possibly backing out the 4,500 that we added in the line item for building grounds maintenance. Is that your idea, Julie, that we might?
Yeah, or even more of it. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, because I mean, $41,000 or $42,000 increase, and then we're going 248, 291, and then the next year you're gonna have a substantial jump in what we're required to do.
Yeah, exactly.
So anything we can do to make the numbers work in our favor while serving the patrons and the library. I've been a strong supporter in pushing the library, and one of the things that we agreed at the beginning was we're not going to increase staffing, but that may not be possible. But at the same time, it should be in this first year. I think we need to have a dry run and figure out, what is the actual usage, what is the actual electricity bill, et cetera, and then make a more informed decision on a future budget. But that's just one possibility to consider.
Yeah, I've got one question. Under the books, audio, video, you went up over 5,000 for that. Is that something that you can get by without this year?
No, that's our require. We have to have 19% of our budget go to it's the materials. So anything that we buy that people borrow, we have to go up a certain percentage to meet the criteria that Kate was talking about earlier.
Thank you.
Sure.
So I guess I was curious, had we had planned for some of this when we, knew we were going to get a bigger building, and just looking back at 2024, we had 6,645 hours. Last year, we had 7,155 hours. This year would be 7,467 hours. So we've been going up. It's about 822 hours since 2024. It's probably half of that, last year. So we've gone up, bear with me 1 second, 6,645, 7,1. Yeah, we went up 510 hours last year, and then probably another 3 something. I think you're probably looking for 300 this year, right? 7,155 minus 7,467.
Yeah, 300.
Yeah, 312. Okay,
Yeah.
just trying to, had we planned to increase? I just can't remember what the conversation was when we went with the library, everyone talked about.
The only
"It's
thing I
gonna
remember
cost us
from-
money and
yeah.
this and that," I'm just curious where we were
I think
at,
that- well,
planned on it.
Two things, like, maybe up until a year ago, the what I had been, and anyone who's involved in the project, the building project, what our mindset had been is that, we are going to be having these great sight lines, which is a requirement now with library construction, is to be able to not only see into the room, but to see through to the next room.
Sure.
And so that was designed very well
did.
by our architect for that to happen. And so we thought we're all set until we started hearing the stories from other libraries. So, so there's that like what we thought we were going to be able to do, and now what we think what we'd be able to handle. And then I know that last year I was asked about having more service hours, but knowing that would mean more staff hours. And there was a comment by at least one person on the finance committee, like, well, let's talk about that next year. And I know a lot has changed in the last year with the economy, but
Right.
it was something that was mentioned and maybe even encouraged, but not knowing what this year would be about.
Right.
Yeah, that was me. I mean,
Was that you?
Yeah, so the hours thing, like it bugs me. And I know that I'm not in the day-to-day operations, but we keep adding more hours and the service hours stay the same. And there are a lot of reasons why it bothers me, but one of them was the reason why I brought it up last year was because when I was younger, spent a ton of time in a library, and it wasn't just for getting books. It was the only quiet place where I could study. I grew up in a really large family, so knowing that there's kids potentially walking home from Frontier that might have the same problem that I had, and not seeing the hours change, even though we keep adding hours, is bugging me. And I know that the building's getting bigger, but when I was a kid, we didn't have CCTVs. We didn't have a police station in our backyard, and my library was still able to make it work. So that's why I'm having such a hard time with.
Are you talking about the old library up in Deerfield?
Just in that's not where I went. No,
Okay.
but just in general, every year we like I said, we keep adding more and more hours, and the service hours aren't changing. And I get that the building's bigger and there's programming, and it's not like a cut and dry thing, but how many hours does it take to add a service hour? Do we know that? Is there a derivative of the current model to be able to figure out what that is?
I think last year what we added was 15 minutes at the end of each shift of a staff person that was going to be closing the library, because we anticipate it's a very it's a tough time when you got a room full of people wanting your attention, rightfully so, because we're open, and that you're trying to close up shop with all these things that you have to do. And we were able to do it for a long time while we were in our smaller building and our temporary space. But then when I anticipated being so much busier in a bigger space, it would just be so much less stressful for everyone involved, the staff and the patrons, if we could do that after closing, because it's about a 15-minute process. And for the kids' room, it's cleaning up toys and washing down tables and everything. You can't really do a lot of that while there's kids running around and asking for you to check out books or to help them on the computer. And so so that was last year's increase, was asking for that. So that was approved. And the year before that, if I remember correctly, I think it was 2 hours that were added to the adult services, head of adult services. Anything past that, from what I remember I was asking for maybe a few more hours for the teens because I was slowly building up that position. Because like I said, when I started, that was at 0. And I can't imagine not having a teen librarian in that new teen room. It would just put way too much stress on the rest of the staff. And also there wouldn't be someone in there to monitor the wonderful chaos that could be there. And so it's been for different reasons every year, but it's been for reasons that, we feel like we're looking ahead, being proactive. And I know my staff is really grateful that we got that time last year to build, and we already know it's a difference that when we close the library and we can clean up, that it goes much easier. And sometimes you kind of felt like you were being rude if a patron was looking for your attention, but you're like, I don't get paid past 5 o'clock. I have to get this done. And so it was kind of a weird thing. So we're avoiding that now. And then this year is just the additional staff that I'm asking for. But outside of that, I haven't increased any other staff hours, just that one position.
So I have a question about what is the formula for the $50,000 for books, et cetera? I mean, is it based on the 291,000 that you're asking for?
Yeah, 50,000 isn't enough. It should be 55 something.
Right. So
Yeah.
I was just trying to figure out what is the requirement and what percentage is it?
19%.
I believe it's 19. That might have been a little oversight on my part because I think I had that number when I had a different total number. And
Yeah.
yeah.
So this would be another increase that.
Well, I don't know, Kate, if this year's materials is less than 19%, is that going to be?
Sure. So we don't require that 19% be allocated and as actually part of the municipal budget. We just require that at the end of the year, you give us a total dollar amount spent on materials that equals the equivalent of 19% of your budget. Some towns automatically just their budget history, they automatically will make 19% of the budget for materials. Some towns get a lot less in materials and they make up the rest of that dollar figure through using state aid funds, using donations, using grant funds. But our requirements don't state that 19% has to be in the municipal budget. We just need a dollar amount spent at the end of the fiscal year.
Yeah, and that's why our budget reflects the offset that the Tilton Fund and the Friends and the state aid give already in the budget. So while it says 50,000 here, actually 22,000 is coming from the Tilton Fund, which they fundraise for every year. And then we will get a little bit from state aid as well.
Friends of Tilton.
14,000, yeah. So it's already baked into our budget, and that's a budget I came into when I started here. So I was really glad that my predecessor put it together that way. So it shows that actually the town doesn't pay for all of our materials; that it does get paid for by these other nonprofits.
And just to note that the formula is population based. We have population tiers going from 4 people in a town up to towns of 50,000, and the bigger your town gets, the more hours we require you to be open because you have a bigger population. Therefore, ideally, you're serving more people and need more hours open. And the smaller your materials percentage requirement gets, because we think that the town's money then is ideally being shifted from materials to being open more hours to serve a bigger population. So that 19% is for the population tier between 5,000 and 9,999 people. So that's how that base, same as the hours open requirement that you guys are meeting.
So does that mean we'll have to add in 5,000 then to meet that for the total number? I assume.
I'm sorry?
So since we have the total number of everyone that's contributing to this budget, so the town, the Tilton Fund, and the Friends and the state aid, since that is a total number to use that calculation on, do we need to add 5,000 to that?
I mean, we don't look at we don't look at your budget line by line when you're applying for state aid. So we don't care where your budget's allocated within that total number that you give us at the end of the year. We do look at when you're applying for state aid, we're just looking at totals, like how much you spent of the Tilton Fund on materials, how much you spent from the fiscal, the town municipal budget. So it doesn't matter to us as long as your total budget number is appropriate and then the spending at the end of the year is appropriate.
I would say so, yeah.
So if we took the building and grounds maintenance and the Eversource lines and put them on the building, whatever that building maintenance budget is, that would decrease this 291 by like 50,000, 53 something. And then we could also decrease the books and audio.
Oh, we can't because
We can, because it would be 19% of the total.
yeah, but that's already been the total. Because you see $22,000 coming from the Tilton Fund, that's already, so that they've already offset that for you. If I took that off, then you guys would have to pay 22,000 more.
That's not what I'm saying.
Okay.
So you have to spend 19% of the total appropriated value
Mhm.
on materials, which is 54 or something.
Oh, right, yes, yeah.
380 on the based on
Right.
the current budget.
Oh, I
Based
see.
on the
Okay.
291, right?
Yeah.
So if we take building and grounds maintenance and Eversource off of your budget and put it on the town building budget, then your total appropriated value is going to be 240,000 instead of 290,000. And so 19% of 240,000 is something smaller. I didn't do the math.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
Right?
But you're not going up enough because last year was 248, right?
Yes, but 230 is the
Oh, I see.
how
Yes,
much we
yes,
have
yes.
to have.
Yes, yeah.
230,000, 231, I think is the.
Yep.
I'm sorry, I'm going off memory. Yeah, 230, 231. And then
Oh, sure.
go ahead, Beth.
The 291 is after these other funds have paid for part of the budget, right? Like
Mhm.
you're taking out the Tilton Fund and all that stuff.
Mhm.
So technically, wouldn't the 19% have to be prior to that? Because she's saying it's the total amount.
Of everyone that contributes.
It's the total appropriated, right?
Appropriated.
Total appropriated by the town. 19% of that has to be spent on.
Yes.
Okay.
And that 19% could be paid for the town by
Mhm.
whoever pays for it. It
Correct.
can come out of the Friends, it can come wherever. Okay.
Right.
No.
Maybe before we go through these machinations, let's discuss the hours for a minute. So this budget has an increase, I think, an increase of about 500 hours, 507 hours, plus the extra 5,000, which is another like 300-ish hours,
To
depending on how much you
9%.
pay the person.
To 9% increase total wages.
I think that the
Yeah.
only added hours that we have are from last year are from the,
Well, the head of adult services went from 1,300 hours to 1,469? No? Or is that not what they were at last year?
I'd have to look at that. I don't have the hours breakdown in front of me.
I'm just going off what the sheet was last year. I don't
Right.
know if the hours were there. And then the lib assistant 3 went from 195 to 338.
That's because the head of young adult went down. So we actually. saved money.
Oh, it's down here as 845 hours twice.
Head of young adult, it's 559 hours
This year or last year?
this year. If you get, the
Ah.
sheet that I give you guys is more accurate than what you might have next to those spreadsheet numbers.
Where's the sheet?
It should be in your packet. It says, budget request detail. It's after the letter.
Oh, we didn't get that.
Oh, okay. Yeah, because that breaks
Okay.
down and displays everything, all the hours and everything you're talking about.
Okay, so head of young adult was what, 559?
Let's see,
Yeah,
head of young adult, 559, yep.
Okay, so that's like a 200-hour increase
200-hour increase from
from last year.
For
Unless
which
some of
position?
the other ones changed.
the adult or
Between the head of adult service, if you, maybe we just read the real numbers. So I have a head of adult services going from 1,300 to 1,469.
that doesn't seem right.
That doesn't seem right. Okay.
No.
And then Lib Assistant 2 wasn't on there last year and is 195 this year. That can't be 195 hours for $800. That person's getting $2 an hour or something.
All right. So which line are
That
you
can't
talking
be
about?
right.
Assistant 2? 808. Oh, that's someone who works 39 hours a year.
Okay. Okay. So you're saying that the overall hours spread among everybody, it's the same number of hours as it was last year. And
Yes.
then the 5,000 is just the 58, whatever, 58, 56. Okay.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yep.
So it's 312 hours at
1877.
okay. Which is not.
Oh. Yeah.
So that's 6 hours a week for the. Yeah, go ahead.
So I took the original recommended amount, the 291,474, pulled out the books, pulled out the 20,870 for building and grounds and the 33,000 for Eversource. And that brings us down to $187,604. And then if we add 19% back in for books, we come to $223,248.76. That is below the 2.5% increase from the previous 3 years, which is 230,232.
Okay.
So my question for the MBLC is, given that we're kind of changing where we're budgeting certain things that, we don't do for other departments, like the fact that we're pulling out the electricity, pulling out the some of the ground stuff, would appropriating 223,000, that figure, which is below the 230, would that be a defensible position for us as a town to not lose our certification or whatever? Given
So
that
as soon as, if you were, so remind me, what was the budget this year, Candace, for FY26?
291,474.
Okay. So
No,
that is
this
I'm
year's
sorry?
248, 388.
48.
that's
Okay.
the proposed. Yeah, this year's
So we
budget.
would be looking. Okay, so we would be looking at the cut essentially from that 248 to the 220, whatever you said.
223.
223. So we would be looking at what percentage cut that is. That's pretty significant. The waiver process part of it is that we look at the cut to the library budget, and then we look at all the town side departmental operating budget. So like police, we don't look at school department, we don't look at fixed costs like insurance and everything, but we look at the operational budgets of all the other town side departments. So fire, police, Parks and Rec, senior center, all that stuff. And we look at the difference in those budget changes all together as one conglomerate versus the library budget cut. And that's what matters to us. So if everybody else got cut similarly to that library budget going down then $20,000, then that's defensible. If everybody else's operating budgets as a whole went up, but the library got cut that $20,000, whatever percentage that is, I don't know off the top of my head, that's when it gets harder, because then you have to make a pretty tough case as to why that was necessary. And also a note that the next year your MAR would not go down. Your MAR, your requirement from us still goes up that little bit every year, because we want to make sure that towns are not, using our regulations to cut the library's budget every year.
So you don't look at whether or not the services are level. So if we have level services and just
Nope.
change, nope, you don't care. All right, cool. Then I would like to make an amendment to modify the amount that I recommended to $230,232.
Do you
Okay.
want to specify moving
Yeah.
some of these costs to other departments?
Yeah, that would be moving the cost to the other departments and adding the books back in. So this would be, yeah, moving to other budgets, but the recommendation would be to move this budget down to 230,232.
Are you gonna reduce the required money to be spent that the state's requiring? Is that the goal of this, or are you just?
No,
But-
I want to get to the point where we don't have to mess with the Commonwealth. So my understanding with this number is this is the minimum amount that we need to have to not trigger the things that we just talked about. So yeah, this would be the minimum funding level with that 3-year period.
But it's not gonna reduce the overall appropriations of the town, right? It's just gonna go into
Right.
other budgets?
Right, we're going to move it. Yeah.
But you'd save money on the materials.
Yeah, I guess that would be a secondary effect, but
Yeah.
we would essentially be moving the 20,870 and the 33,000 to other budgets, and then removing the books, adding them back in, keeping everything where it needs to be, keeping this department happy at the MBLC, and reducing down from 291,474 to 230,232.
Are you gonna reduce the books, audio and video also? Is that the goal?
We can't tell them what to reduce. We can only reduce the overall budget. So I'm just saying that, the things that we can move are the things that, are like the town building, and unless I'm wrong, Julie, but I think that the only directive we can really give the library is that we'll shift those costs to another budget. But
So that actually makes the town's overall budget go up if we shift those two full amounts, the 33 and the 20.
yeah,
So what if we shift the 33 and we shift 10,000 of or some other number?
see what that new amount would be.
How would that go up if the cost of the materials goes down?
Your minimum budget is 230, 232.
Mm-hmm.
And if we take if we take 53,000 off of 291,
Oh, I see. So it wouldn't add up to that 230.
oh, hang on. I had that. So you're okay with increasing the hours, right?
Well, it's not that I'm okay with increasing.
It's perfect. If you leave those extra hours in there.
Just for the record, I'm
231,600.
I'm not okay with
Mhm.
increasing the hours if we're not increasing the service hours. This still makes me very upset. But like I said before, this is the minimum that we can get away with without triggering things with the MBLC. So that's where I'm going.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but the question is
What-
how
what-
much.
What's the objective of moving it?
The objective of-
We're meeting the requirements. That,
We have to increase it even more.
oh, you're
Yeah,
looking
yeah.
at next
So-
year, okay.
Yeah.
that's
I'm
fine.
sorry to be a jerk here. Point of order. I have a motion on the floor.
I'm sorry.
Does anyone want to second it? All right.
I'm not ready to yet. That's why I'm arguing.
For the purposes of discussion, I just want to
Can I
be
just have
able
a
to discuss it
quick
some more. Yeah.
question on
Go
what
ahead,
that
Trevor.
amount was? The amount that you were hoping to fund this budget was at 232,748, was that right?
No, I got 230, 232.
230, 232.
That's the number, that's what I got too.
Yeah.
I missed something somewhere.
230,232.
Huge.
Yes. I'm thinking of the kids.
Yeah.
No,
That
no,
amount
no.
would go down.
Now I.
No, because
why.
the percentage of that would be less than that.
I'll second his motion.
Okay.
I have a question.
Go ahead, Beth.
So if we move, you're talking about the Eversource line. or
Yes.
Some of it to someone else's budget. That's
So there's a town building maintenance budget. That is 192,400. And that is electricity and maintenance, building maintenance and grounds maintenance for police and this building and anything else? 1888.
It just seems a little, I'm not a, like, I don't know. It's because we don't know how much it's going to be.
Right.
Well, to a great extent, all of this is sort of accounting fictions anyway.
Yeah, I think this is the best shot of control. I mean, no offense, Candace, we got to make sure this budget doesn't grow out of control. This is I think the best way forward, to control this budget over the next couple of years. Hopefully we can add some hours. But I know we're kind of like almost robbing Peter to pay Paul here, but we do have this constraint that the MBLC is putting on us. So I want to manage to that over the long term. Would I like to cut it more? If we could find a way to without getting in trouble with this huge project that we have, maybe. But this is the best we can do right now. So, that's why I would like to see us fund this budget at this level.
So if you took it down to 230, 232, then the required books and stuff, materials would be 43,740.
Yeah. So I took
I took
the 50,000 out and then added the
and then
19.
added it back in.
Yeah.
Yeah. Go ahead, John.
I have a question. It's sort of unrelated, and I'm just curious. What's the square footage of the old library compared to the new library?
We're about 3 times the size.
So in real numbers, was the old library 44,000 square feet and now we're 12,000 square feet, or is it somewhat
about that.
larger?
It was 45 and now we're at 12.3.
But yet our energy costs have gone up way more than 3 times.
That's because of electrical.
Yep.
Yeah, we have to still recycle the air all year long. I believe this is going to be a LEED certified building, correct?
We're working on it.
Yeah. So, I mean, hopefully it will be. And if it is, then we are going to have to do, a certain number of air exchanges every certain quanta of time. I don't remember what it is, if it's hourly or whatever, but unfortunately, with all the advancements in modern tech, we haven't figured out a way to move air cheaply yet. So, I get it.
So when I do the numbers and you guys have a motion, so
Yep. Go ahead.
we haven't seconded that motion. When I do the numbers and I back out the 2 costs we talked about, I come up with $237,604, and Trevor comes up with the same amount. Is that the number that we have to spend? We have to multiply to figure out what the books are? Or do we take the books out as well? This is what I'm trying to.
So you take the books out as well.
Okay,
and then you end up with a total number, but it's 19% not of that number, but of the number once you add the 19%. So it's 19%
circular
number divided by 1 minus 0.019.
It is rather circular in the end. It's 19% of the whole budget.
Which number do you go? You take 237 and
so you take 291,474 and you subtract 50,000, 33,000, and 20,870, right? You subtract all 3 of those, you end up with 187,504.
604. Yeah, we're agreeing at this point.
Okay. The
then you
total, the required material at that point is going to be $44,006, which takes you to 231,610.
Right. So
if I can just confirm something, that 19% is based on the total budget, including that 19%.
Right.
It's a circular, just to confirm it. It's a rather circular thing, but that 19% needs to be based off of the total budget, including that 19% for books.
So that's what I'm trying to get to. So if we took out these two charges and we came up with 237,600, that's still including 50,000 for the books. Do we subtract those 50,000 to come up with a
Yeah.
number
Yeah.
and then multiply it? Because what you're saying sounds different to me than what we're thinking.
Well, Tim,
So, go ahead.
so yeah, so you minus all those costs, including the 50,000, then you do the 19%, you put that total, you jot that number down, and then you see what the total is, and you have to make sure that that number is in fact 19%. So you have to do the 19% twice, right?
Or you just take the percentage of the amount that you're cutting it by and multiply the 19% figure by that, and that gets you your new reduced 19% figure.
So how about if we come at it from the other direction? So if we take the total, our minimum amount we have to increase it is the 230, 232 number.
Yep.
That Mark gave us. 19% of that is 43,744.
Yeah.
Or maybe 745, but within $1, that's the right number. Right. So you subtract 43,744 from 230, 232. That's the total budget without the materials. I don't usually do so much math when we're talking about this. Right. Right. Yeah.
So will that forever be out of the library's bill then? Because if we add it back in, then our numbers would go way up over time. Okay.
But it might go up less because if we get the solar on this
If we
year.
get the solar on, that'll help. If
And-
we get the building, if we ever get it, what do you call it, commissioned?
Yes.
And yeah.
Yep. Okay.
So I think what sorry, I stalled out mid-thought. Part of do we want to make a friendly amendment to it that we also shift $53,870 from this budget to the building maintenance
Yeah.
budget?
Sure.
His original statement.
Yep. When I was, yeah.
Did you say that?
Yeah.
part
When I,
of the thing?
when I was
Okay.
telling our scribe here, yeah, included that.
How much? 53?
Yeah, it's 33,000 for electrical and 20,870 for building and grounds maintenance.
Yep.
So that's 53,870 shifts from this to that building maintenance line item.
$192,000, $5,400. The town building maintenance.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yep.
Gives us 237,604.
No, it should still be the 230, 232 because the books are going to go down.
But they're not.
Yeah.
Are they gonna go down that much? I thought we had figured the books cost was about 44,000, which would be a reduction of about $6,000, and this would be $7,000.
So that's why I was trying to figure out what number do you base the 19% on and how do you arrive at that number? Because if you subtract the 50,000, that brings you down to from 237 to 180 something.
187,604,
Right.
and then I multiplied that by 1.19.
Okay, and you ended up with 232.
No, a number lower, actually.
230 something.
Yeah, which we can't do. Hold on one second. Let me pull that up again. When I do that, I get 223, 248, which is too low.
According
So-
to MGL.
Yeah.
78, section 119A, it doesn't say remove the books.
That's what I was trying to figure out, because there's
It just says
another
appropriate.
step in there.
Yeah, in other words, that of your final appropriation.
So we should just be subtracting the maintenance and Eversource,
Yeah, just subtract that amount.
just
and-
those two accounts,
Yeah,
those two amounts.
But
That's the way I read it.
if we,
and then multiply.
So
the
if we-
8.15.
If we do what you said and we
Yep.
go to 230, whatever,
Yep.
and we shift the Eversource and the
Building
building maintenance to the other line item,
yep,
then the books and audio come down to 43,744, which is a $6,256 decrease.
what do the books go down to? In your calculation?
43,744.
43, what?
43744.
744. Okay, thank you.
43744. Sorry. So that means that the rest of the budget would have to be cut by $1,116 in order to get to your
Why do we-
232.
Why are we stressing over getting it down another $3,000 or $4,000?
Well, you could do that easily by not adding the additional hours. So, I mean,
Yeah.
we still
Right.
haven't made the
You
decision.
still add some hours, but not quite as many, or you could shift something else around or whatever.
Yeah, I basically just want to go down to the MBLC minimum so that way we can have control over the growth. So I'm sure we could find the 1,000 somewhere. 1,000, whatever. Or by we, I mean Candace. Candace has to find it.
You look like you don't agree yet, John. Or you're not with me? No. Any more discussion? Are we done?
Question is that you're sure that this is the magic number that we need, the 230, 232?
Yes,
Like you're 100% sure on
I
that
am
number?
100%. I can
Because I'd
even
hate to
show
do all
you.
this and people
So,
load.
did anybody else come up with that number also?
I did not, 'cause I didn't roll the question.
Probably do her number and then we'll vote it like another night.
The actual
Okay.
budget.
No, not that.
I just don't see the need to
Yeah.
take other stuff out.
That's three numbers.
Yeah.
We're talking about, we're trying to
Did that.
preserve a number for the future. We're only talking $3,000 or $4,000.
That's
So-
not true.
Hmm?
It's 3-year old.
But it's compounded.
Yeah, but this is the average so far.
What I'm saying, if you look at the previous years, it was like 202, 210, 215. You add those three together and you come up with a 3-year rolling average.
Right.
When you start going 248, 291, and whatever comes after, those are significantly higher. And is that
Oh,
only a
okay.
$6,000
I see what you're
savings?
saying,
No.
right.
Exactly.
Yeah, so we need to get lower to offset those high ones.
Yeah.
Got it.
Oh, no, I did it here. Oh, yeah.
This is like doing your work.
Staffing's
The
down.
other thing, I wanted to know why this was the most.
Yeah.
Julie said it was. Yeah, but I don't know what yeah. Oh, it's just the average? I thought it was some kind of. and plus a-
by 2.5.
That's the number I've been looking for.
Sorry.
What percent I had to go up by?
Because
1.025.
Okay. Fair enough.
You there? So if, I can't look at my computer and the board up there at the same time, but, this block right here, FY 27, is the sum of 10, 11, and 12 divided by 3 times 1.025. So that's 10, 11, and 12, or 26, 25, and 24.
Huh?
You guys good with that?
Yep.
230, 231, and throw in another dollar just to make sure we're over
Yeah, that's,
the amount.
yep. That's,
Because there's some, I'm sure there's some cents in there. Yeah, and 6 cents. So,
so yeah, my motion has it at 232.
yeah.
And I think our math professor.
And then 19% of that is 43,744.
Yep.
Okay. So we have a motion and second on the table to take the Tilton Library line item 610-5400 to $230,232. As part of that, we are shifting $53,870 from this line to the building maintenance line, which is 192,5400. Any discussion on that? Question? So we will vote this and then we will vote the new amount after we voted this, right? So we're voting an amendment to our original motion.
I
and
actually just changed my
we'll vote
motion. Yeah. Well, actually, no, I did it as an amendment. I'm sorry. My bad. I should have just changed it, but yeah, it's an amendment. Yep. So we got to vote the
Okay.
amendment. Yeah.
All right. Any questions or discussion? Do you agree with us with that number yet, or should we wait? You're good with us? Okay. You can double check us and we'll come back and revisit it next week to make sure we got the right number. Couple extra dollars.
I can make it 233.
We have a motion on the, let's just do it, what we've got.
It doesn't matter.
Any,
It doesn't matter. It won't matter until 2 or 3 years from now, whether it's $1 more or $1 less.
yeah,
Right.
dollar doesn't matter much.
It's irrelevant.
All right. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? Abstaining? Okay. So that passes. So we have a motion on the table for Tilton Library 610-5400 at 232. And I guess at the same time, we're increasing 192, whatever that is. 5,400 by
53,807.
53,870. Any discussion?
It's gonna be a tough year,
It is
Right.
going to be a tough year.
and this is a big increase. You know, even
It
we
is.
shifted stuff, but
Yeah, you're
Yeah.
absolutely right. It is a
It-
big increase.
you know, we're adding $43,000 to the budget that we expect the taxpayers to come up with. And I'm just wondering if there's anything we can do.
Isn't it
To
more of an
reduce
increase of like 10 grand? Because we're bringing the library budget down. So
Yeah, but that's just moving numbers. I'm talking about dollars, real dollars.
so in real dollars, we're going from an increase of 43,086 to 53,870, and we will be saving more than 10 grand over the next couple of years by doing it. So that's the strategy there.
No, I know. I'm just looking at overall.
Yeah.
I'm not talking about your amendment. I'm just saying it's a lot of money.
It's like 36,000. So
Okay. And then on top
spend
of
a
that,
lot of
you know,
money.
we've got the library debt service.
mhm.
I don't know. I don't know what we can do, but if anything, I'm just concerned. That's expressing my concerns. So now we can vote.
Okay. I don't disagree with you. I mean,
Yeah.
yeah. It's a tough year. Any other comments or discussion? Yeah.
I have one. I mean, since we're now looking at the upper floor being unavailable until, I believe it's July, could we perhaps push back some of the, have you factored that into your hours for staffing? I mean, I know the fiscal year starts around June July 1st anyway, but, you know, would it be possible to ramp up staffing rather than come right out of the gate?
Put it all in this year.
Oh, I don't know. I know that because we moved into the building later this year than we had planned. You know, we may have saved some money on electricity. However, what we were going to have last year for this fiscal year was 33,000, and then we trimmed it down because we were anticipating or we were hoping that we would get that solar grant, which we didn't get. So, there would involve a lot more math to see if that's something worth doing the next 6 months or not, or 3 months.
So by doing what we just did, we decreased the budget that Candace has to deal with by about $1,000. So that 5,856 increase is, I assume that's where you would take it out, would be a thousand less than that. So 20% less. Not quite.
Plus the reduction in the ceiling in the minimum.
Yeah,
floor
yeah.
materials.
Right. But there would be a few less hours, but you're right, not a ton less. All right, I'm not hearing any more discussion. Everybody know what we're voting on? All those in favor? Against? Abstaining?
Abstain.
That passes 302. So the budget, and like especially this year, but we've passed it and that's where we are, but we're going to be revisiting all of the budgets within a month. So, we'll be back to you. Okay.
I'm going to move to withdraw our motion from the original amount, and we'll take it up.
Second,
All those in favor?
Trevor McDaniel.
Blake Gilmore.
Tenilchi, aye.
Okay.
Thank you, Candace. I know there was a lot.
You
Yeah.
know, it's not painless.
Yep. All right.
232 is the one that was voted.
230232. What? 302. Yep.
Oh, she left. I was going to thank Kate, but she's gone.
And 401 was the vote on the amendment to the original. So. All right. Everybody exhausted yet? Let's do minutes.
I move that we accept the minutes of the March 2nd meeting.
Second.
Got it.
Any discussion? All those in favor? That's unanimous, 500. Let's do budget overview, if we're okay with that. So you're looking at me like I'm springing this on you, sorry. So Frontier after the public hearing had a discussion. They took they had baked 20% increase in health insurance into their budget. Do you guys know all this already? They had baked 20% into their budget. The increase was actually 12.5% rather than 20. So they actually decreased their budget since the public hearing. So the number we have right now is lower than they presented at the public hearing. They are going to pay for the entire parking lot out of funds that they have. So there will be no capital expense from the town, and the assessments for each town went down a little bit. So the numbers you have in the expense detail includes those reductions. It's lower than it was last Wednesday or whenever we were talking about it last.
So you're talking about the 310, 5,400 number?
Yeah, so 310, 50, 800 is zero now. It was at like 50,000.
Okay, yep.
And 310, 5,400 and 315, 5,800. So the Frontier Regional School and the Frontier Regional Transportation, those are both a little bit lower than the page we had last week.
Yep.
Which is nice.
Yep.
It's lovely.
About 80,000.
What's that?
Looks like they've shaved off about 80,000.
Is it?
That's nothing to sneer at.
So when I look at, so we have total revenues right now at 21,166.
Yep.
543.
Yep. I got the number. You want the number?
That's right. Yeah, I've got it.
We're short 108, rounding 181,000.
Yeah.
And that's no capital either.
Yeah. Yeah, we are. So we're short 180, 175, 180,000, something like that
So far.
so far.
That's getting
Yeah.
close to seat cushions.
Huh?
That's getting close to what we could find in the seat cushions. So.
It is. It is. So there are budgets that we still haven't reviewed. How are we doing? 7:05. Not too bad. Yeah. So my goal is to be out of here by 7:30. 2 hours. So
We need to change that clock. One behind your head is.
okay. Lost my train of thought. Everybody has their own opinions. I'll throw a comment out there that this includes the South County Senior Center increase for that 112 Amherst Road. So if they stayed where they were instead of going to 100 to 112 Amherst Road, we would save somewhere around 100,000. Deerfield would save somewhere around 100,000. So there are other options for other buildings, and that's actually something I might run by you next week, is some estimates for rentals for buildings in Deerfield that we could offer up to South County Senior Center, as opposed to the 112 Amherst Road. So we can have that discussion. I think there's this includes, you said you went through South County EMS, and that this includes where you think that budget is going to end up.
So yeah, this does include a draft of South County EMS. I am going to sit down with the director later on this week, and we're both going to sort of review the numbers together and make sure we are in sync. We had a couple places where we were different. I've used my numbers for the time being, and he'll have to convince me that his numbers are otherwise correct, and we'll have that ironed out by the end of this week.
Okay, good. This does not include snow and ice overage, right? And you gave me a number, 90,000,
I
something
believe
like
we're
that
about
right now?
188, 87,000 as of today. Possibly still more coming. I mean, there's still, equipment that will need to be fixed, repaired. I'm hoping we will not need to get any more salt, but we'll see what happens with Mother Nature.
Okay.
We've had storms on April 1st before.
Yep.
When you say 180, do you mean that's 180 beyond what we budgeted? Or is that including what we budgeted? So we're.
Including what we budgeted.
Including what we budgeted. So we're about 87,000 over at the moment, just at this point in time. And I don't know if there's other invoices sitting on a desk waiting to be paid that I'm just not aware of at that point. That's just everything that's been paid to date.
Perfect.
Things that are in flux, I wouldn't.
What, 100?
100,000
Yeah.
for snow and ice, yeah.
Yeah. So it's getting better. We were at like 500,000, so it's getting better, but
Yeah, both of the elementary school and the regional school districts, we were, projecting higher increases, just not knowing where they were going to go. And obviously with the health insurance, we were projecting higher increases than what it may work out to be, depending on those changes that we discussed earlier. And then everything else was just little movements here and there, but those were the big pieces.
Okay. All right. Huh? The one other sort of admin-y thing, anybody else want to say anything about this? Any other thoughts about where money could be saved or anything? Or we want to just go through the rest of the budgets and then?
I'd like to revisit conservation agent at some point. It doesn't have to be right now, but
Second that.
Yeah, okay. Make a note. Okay, I emailed out a finance committee annual report. It pretty much says what we already said. It's the executive summary from the heck do you call it? The financial indicators and then the community comparison stuff. Did anybody have any feedback on that? Yes.
I'd like to emphasize, you've mentioned the roads and the infrastructure, but I think it should be said stronger. I mean,
Okay.
we're in the hole now as it is without fixing the roads.
That's not quite true, right? So
Well,
we
we're gonna
did get
fix the fix the potholes,
but we get chapter 90 funds and those funds go towards fixing the road. So we're not doing nothing, right?
no, that's true. No, you're right. I take that back.
Yeah,
But-
we're gonna do all of.
But he's talking, I thought, Matt, is that his name? He was
Yeah.
talking millions of dollars.
Well, it's like our OPEB, we have we have millions of dollars of exposure, but we wouldn't do it all at once. And I think, like we're gonna do all of North Hillside this year, and I think another road he was planning, so. And that's a full reclamation, so that's a big
So
job.
what kind of money are we talking about when you talk, I don't know.
How much
How much would they be? Yeah,
that road?
yeah.
I think, well, we get like 300, I think, a
Yeah.
year in that range. So I don't know if he's gonna straddle a couple of years. Kevin used to.
Is that
straddle a
enough to
couple-
fix North Hillside, the
Yeah, I
other
think
road?
he's got enough to do that. Yeah.
Oh, it is,
And then
okay.
another road, yeah. I believe so. He's got.
I misunderstood then, all right.
No, but there is serious exposure to do. I mean, Sherman Drive needs
I'm not
it.
arguing the point that there's a problem out there and we need to fix the roads. I'm just arguing the point that we're doing nothing. We're not doing
No,
nothing.
you're right. I take that back. I erased that statement.
Yeah, and we also have the 1.5 million in grants that we're gonna fix Elm Street with, so.
Yeah.
And that's not a taxpayer thing, that's a grant thing, which is what. we
Different
planner.
taxpayers.
Yeah, well, we're getting a tax refund from the state of Massachusetts to fix roads and spend the money locally rather than letting it be spent somewhere else.
I used to joke that in Massachusetts, the hole in the Capitol where they poured the money was a literal thing in Boston for many years.
But I still think maybe we should say something a little bit stronger on that. That's my opinion.
So under areas of concern on the adequately maintained road infrastructure line, is that what you?
Yeah, I don't have it in front of me, so I just.
So what it says currently is the town has not adequately maintained road infrastructure and buildings or replaced aging equipment.
I don't know how, I'm looking for something else, but I can't help. So let it go.
I can't even find, oh, right here. This is what it says right now, this line.
I mean, I guess if you wanted it really strong, you could say failed to adequately maintain.
guess let it go. Unless other people agree with me.
The part that I would definitely agree with is, we don't have it baked into our capital plan. So we've been very reliant on Chapter 90 funds. We've been doing, I think, fairly well with it, which is a weird thing to say for Boynton Road. Trevor has to drive by it all the time. Yeah. And we've been getting lucky with capital too, that, we've been able to just, by the skin of our teeth, pay for capital projects. But I'm kind of talking myself into writing the capital report right now. But yeah, I think it's like, we're kind of getting closer and closer to having an issue with capital, for sure. Because I don't know that Chapter 90 money is going to be able to continue to help us. Maybe it will. I don't know. But certainly worried about the town building maintenance, the machines. We're behind schedule on the DPW schedule. So yeah, I would agree. There definitely is some room for concern.
So you guys want me to beef that line up? Make it sound scarier?
An area of concern.
Okay. Yeah, I'll do that.
They failed to adequately maintain.
I would recommend that everybody who has made that statement drive Cheapside and
Oh, yeah.
and then come back to me and tell me how we failed to adequately. I mean, then you could say, well, South Mill River Road.
We
and,
also,
but
we also failed.
oh yeah,
That's awful. Yeah.
that's colossal failure.
Right.
They had a $20 million bridge project and they leave potholes on either end. It's crazy.
I agree.
Giant, that pothole's been there
All right.
for years.
Let's do, we have 15 minutes. Let's do a couple more budgets. Let's do inspections department payroll 241-5110.
Like to make a motion to recommend inspections department payroll account number 241-5110 in the amount of $194,743.
I'll second.
Same motion for select board.
Second.
So I'm just going to say that the inspections department is, there are no changes in staff. It is just COLAs and annual step increases.
Any questions or discussion? All those in favor? It's unanimous, 500.
All those in favor for select board?
Blake Gilmore, aye.
Tim Hilchi, aye.
I have one question. Are we going to wind up with another dollar to adjust this amount? Seems like every year we add a buck. Trevor McDaniel, aye.
All right, next page, inspections department expense,
Like-
241-5400.
Like to make a motion to recommend inspections department expense account number 241-5400 in the amount of $4,950.
Second.
Same motion for the select board.
Second.
And so again, the inspections department has submitted the same budget as last year. It is adequate. He is concerned that there will be some more projects this year and that some costs may go up, but they have typically somewhat underspent the budget, so I think that we'll be fine.
Any discussion? All those in favor? It's unanimous.
All those in favor select board?
Blake Gilmore, aye.
Tim Hilchi, aye.
Trevor McDaniel, aye.
All right, 634-5110. That's rec department director. 634-5110.
Like to make a motion to recommend recreation department director salary 634-5110 in the amount of $36,694.
I'll
Wait a second.
second for discussion.
Same motion for the select board.
Second?
Okay, so this budget also just includes a cost of living increase and the annual step increase, the number of hours. So the rec director's salary, and she will remain as a part-timer. We are estimating 19 hours per week. Her hours do fluctuate. Some weeks she works more than that, and then other weeks she certainly works less than that, depending on the season and the sports and what is going on. But we will need to keep her under 19 hours to keep her non-benefited. That is the goal, and she is on board with that as well
What,
for the time being.
what programs are gonna fall by the wayside if we have less hours?
I'm on the rec committee. I
Yeah,
don't think,
Too
um,
much.
yeah, I don't think too much was gonna change the last time we met.
There was, there was,
Some of the arts and crafts things that Sue like really liked, and maybe like some of the, yeah.
Santa stuff or the Valentine's bags. I mean, that may still happen, but some of the stuff that she would do on the side, we probably don't have the time yet until I think this director retires or maybe, or we get some help, volunteers and that kind of
I
thing.
think that the goal was to look for, like, if people wanted some of that other programming, like someone might volunteer to take over those kind of things. But the main programming, like,
Softball,
well,
basketball,
and
soccer.
yoga, whatever all the
Yeah.
ones are at the at Deerfield,
Pilates.
those are all going to continue for now.
Yeah, I would just note Gabby also transitioned us to online registration. So there's a bunch of time tied up with registering people that's been gone off our budget. So yeah, collecting checks, et cetera. Yeah.
Oh, Gabby's great, yeah.
We used a QR code for the first time in the rec department.
Any other discussion? All those in favor? It's unanimous.
All those in favor for select board?
Blake Gilmore, aye.
And LGI.
Irvin McDaniel, aye.
830, 5400, 830, 5400.
Like to make a motion to recommend the FERCog core assessment account number 830-5400 in the amount of $42,000.
Nope. $44,670.
Just kidding. I have a new one. $44,678. Thank you.
Did you say 680 or 678?
$44,678.
There should have been a new sheet that was, I think, circulated
I just didn't see the new
last
sheet.
week, or
Yeah.
I don't remember if it was this week or last week. I think it was the week before.
Did we do
So this is.
We need a second. Okay, good. All right. Sorry, go ahead.
So our.
Make the same motion for the select board.
Second.
Yep.
Sorry.
So this is directly from the FERCog for the FY27 fiscal year. And people may or may not have seen this or heard about this number, but the total that we will be paying the FERCog is $48,022. But there is a portion of it that is paid by the Board of Health, and there is a portion of it, a small portion of it, that is paid by DPW. So the town's portion of it is the $44,678. And that's consistent with what it has been in the past.
Any?
So
Jim?
does that mean that this increase of 7.75% is partly due to amounts that previously came from other departments? Or is the amount that we're giving FERCog up?
The amount,
this year?
the council, it had an increase to membership, this year, based on their budget needs and all that stuff. They haven't, increased for quite a while, and then they had a rebate actually a couple years back, but, this year they're in a tight spot, so they had to go up a little bit. Again, insurance, all the other, same things everybody else is dealing with.
This is just the portion that we would be paying, the portion that DPW pays, and that the Board of Health pays are in their budgets. They're not included.
Thank you.
Any other questions or discussion? All those in favor? It's unanimous.
All those in favor for select board?
Blake Gilmore, aye.
Tim Hill, GI.
Chad McDaniel, aye.
All right, Dickinson Trust, which is in section, oh, it's on that, it's just on this thing, right? Is there a page for it?
Maybe on the fourth page, maybe?
So it's on, yeah, it's on the back of the expense detail. Dickinson Library Trust for $29.50.
Like to make a motion to recommend Dickinson Library Trust in the amount of $2,950.
Second.
Make the same motion for select board?
Second.
What is it?
Oh, somebody was gonna ask that, I knew.
What? How do we?
So my understanding, and I'm obviously not very well versed in this one, is that there is a trust fund that was left years and years and years ago to the town, and the interest on that trust fund can be spent each year. So each year we allocate out the prior year's interest, and 85% of that goes to the Tilton Library, and 15% of it goes to the Frontier Regional Library. It is spelled out in the trust on where the money is supposed to be spent, and it is supposed to go back to local public libraries.
This is from a trust from the 1800s, and it was the money that started Deerfield Academy. This is all the same. And there was a Supreme Court case, Massachusetts Supreme Court case in the 20s, 23. They kind of allocated where the money needed to go. Some money stayed at Deerfield, some money was in the town, but certain things had to be done, certain areas. We're doing a little research on it at the moment, so.
So we're approving money that basically we've got to
Yeah.
to spend.
It's in the revenue.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's
it comes in, the same amount comes in as goes out. Yep. Any discussion? All those in favor? It's unanimous.
All those in favor for select board?
Blake Gilmore, aye.
Tim Hill, GI.
Chad McDaniel, aye.
All right. So are you all just here to enjoy the fun that is finance committee, or does anybody have any public comment that you'd like to make, or? Nope, nope. Just here having a lovely evening with us, huh?
Clarification, if you don't mind.
You bet.
Good evening, Jeff Upton. And I was just listening to the whole conversation, and I think the finance committee did a great job as far as navigating, I guess, restrictions on grant money for the library. And it's watching this, I'm a little concerned if I'm reading this right. And it appears to me that the BLC has strings attached to that grant that is having an impact on our local budget. And and I know you again navigated well to shift money around in that, but if you're not able to meet that, and please correct me if I'm misunderstanding this, because I'm just, had a very short time to think about this from what I was hearing, is that there's a 2.5% increase on basically an annual basis on a 3-year average. 19% of that has to go for cost, furniture,
Materials.
or whatever the case may be.
Materials, yeah.
And if you don't meet that as a town, then the answer to that is punitive. Where this entity can come in and cause a major impact as far as town finances if you don't meet that. I'm wondering what happens down the road if we run into tough situations, because we've talked about this, it's kind of open, that at some point, we may have to run into 2.5% override, or 2.5 override. I know, Trevor's talked about it quite a bit. And obviously, sorry, Trevor, but I would be voting no on it, but I don't know if I'm reading this wrong, but I guess I'm feeling a little uncomfortable as far as the impact on some of these items that the state is pushing to have it impact local governing. And on top of it, budget also. And I could be reading it wrong. That's just how I'm seeing it tonight on a short period of time. I didn't have obviously a lot of time to think this through. And I understand you were able to shift. And that's why I say I think the finance did a great job in navigating this to make it work. But I'm a little concerned going forward as a town, when we get into some of these items, are there going to be future strings attached to the point where we start losing control of our finances as a town? John?
As far as the library goes,
Yeah.
it's the money, it's in the budget is $14,500.
Yeah.
So to me, that's not the end of the world.
Right.
If things go south. So that's my opinion.
Right.
Huh?
Do you mean that's how much the state
The
provides?
state
I
provides,
see.
yeah.
Yeah, other than the
Not
benefit of
huge.
being able to go to other.
Yeah,
It's nice, but it's not huge.
Go ahead, Jim.
All funding has strings attached. I mean, when the federal government wanted to change the drinking age in states, it was based on, well, we won't give you highway funding unless you do this, It is a tool of statecraft,
Yeah.
A little frustrating to see the impact that it's having on local government. That's
Yeah.
all.
I think
So
actually,
that's not new. So just to be really clear,
Mhm.
that rule has been there for a long time. And the money we got to build the library, that doesn't have anything to do with that. That rule has been there all along. We've been dealing with it. But you're absolutely right. The state does stuff all the time. And the conservation rules, there's a lot of rules regarding the schools. And the school budget is really high because we have to, there's
Oh, yeah,
a lot out there.
I
So-
saved the article of legislation and what they're proposing. And there's a list of 5 or 6 items that the state is going to be running out.
Helping us out
small
with.
towns, especially small rural towns.
Yeah. Go ahead, Tim.
yeah, I was just going to say that the consequence of not meeting the NBLC's requirement is that that we as a town, Deerfield, will no longer be able to borrow books from Greenfield. It's not like they're going to come in and tell you got to cut a police officer. It's just that for the period of time that we don't meet the guidelines, we have a consequence in what's available to us. Like the library provides Canopy and Hoopla, and you can get free videos on your home TV and watch a movie that,
But
might.
didn't I also hear that they'd be looking for some financial return also? I think
Only if it happened this year before they give us the last payment on the library, and that's not going to happen. We're going to be beyond that.
And I
But
think it,
yeah, but that comment was made, yes, but
and this,
so.
I think this is a lot of this again is just circling back to just a large increase in this budget because of utilities and stuff. Really kind of brought it to light because we always have it in there and no one really pays attention to it that much
Yeah.
because it's a small.
But the big jump this
But
year.
the big
yeah,
jump
so.
this year just kind of drove the discussion.
Thank you. Appreciate
Yep,
it.
thank you, Jen. Go ahead, Mark.
I just want to say I agree with you, Jim. They were gangsters. No, seriously, I don't like it. And I hope that in future years we can do something about it. Like one of the reasons why I asked what the consequences were is I don't have any problem sitting it out for a year to push the reset button on this if costs continue to escalate. I don't like it at all. And also like we're not adding service hours to the library, which drives me nuts with all this. So yeah, I agree with you, and it sucks that we actually just made a net increase in our budget basically to try and keep this at bay in the long term, which I still think is the right decision. But well, you saw the rhetoric that came along with that, so I don't like it. But
That's why
yeah,
I'm asking for clarification.
I don't even think you can reset it because she said it stays at that amount. So even if you,
maybe you can't. Yeah, I don't
yeah,
I want to look into it.
I think she said that it wouldn't be the new, like, so say you lower your budget and you're below the 3-year
Oh.
rolling average. She said
I didn't
something
pick up on
quickly
that.
saying, oh, and it wouldn't reset. You'd stay at the,
See, keep the rolling.
you
average.
keep, no, she said you keep the, I don't know. It'd be interesting to look into.
Is that if you do the exception, like the appeal process, or?
Oh, the waiver.
Yeah, yeah, the waiver,
Maybe,
yeah.
maybe if you get the waiver, then that's why, yeah.
Yeah.
I think, yeah, you can read into that.
All right.
Okay.
But
We'll
isn't the
pass that
waiver
then.
only good for 1 year and then you go to the next year, you're back in the game?
Asking them again. Yep. All right. Tomorrow night is CIPC at 5 p.m. Wednesday at 6 p.m. is Deerfield Elementary public hearing in the library at Deerfield Elementary. Wednesday at, I think, 7 p.m. I'm not 100% certain of that, is the Franklin Tech School Committee meeting. It's not, they already had the public hearing, is my understanding. This is where they
Yeah.
vote the budget. Also Wednesday at 7 is the thing about the Rotary and that they're putting in at the end of Mill Village.
That's 7.
Wait, I have a question about that real quick.
Yeah.
Are they fixing the bridge with that?
They already, yeah, they are working on the bridge right
Well,
now.
I didn't know
Yeah.
the flyer didn't mention.
I
that
know,
the
no, it's
bridge was
not,
opening.
it's not part of that project.
but it is-
But it is
but-
on
okay.
the project, yeah, they're working on it. Not fast enough, by any means.
We're gonna be able to whip down north.
Testers out there.
All right. And next Monday, we're doing town clerk, treasurer collector, debt insurance. And if we have time, I'm going to do a little presentation on building rent. And I'd like to get your feedback on that.
Cool.
Okay.
Motion to adjourn.
Second. All those in favor?
Motion to
And-
adjourn select board.
Second,
All those in favor?
Blake Gilmore, aye.
Tim Hilchi, aye.
Chair McDaniel, aye. Thank you all.
6, I think. I think it's at 6. Did I say 5?
No.